Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're looking at the future of AI.
Very exciting stuff.
It is. And specifically, we're going to be talking about DeepSeek V3.
Yeah, I think this is really going to change the game.
I think so too, and I'm really excited to get into it. I mean,
Yeah.
what really blew me away is that it achieves this incredible performance at a fraction of the cost of its competitors.
Right, and that's why everyone's talking about it.
Exactly. And we're going to be taking a look at the DeepSeek V3 technical report for this deep dive. So this is straight from the developers themselves.
All the juicy details.
All the juicy details. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it.
Let's go.
So DeepSeek V3 uses some pretty cool tricks to achieve these amazing results like multi-token prediction and an auxiliary loss-free load balancing strategy.
It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but don't worry, we'll break it all down for you and explain why you should care, because trust me, you should.
You definitely should.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts, let's set the stage a little bit.
Okay.
So we've all seen those incredible large language models, starting with GPT-3, then GPT-4o came out, and then we had Claude 3.5.
But each one's seemingly smarter than the last?
Exactly. Each one's smarter than the last, but training these things, that's a whole other story.
Talk about expensive.
Right. Like breaking the bank expensive.
Absolutely. The cost has been a huge barrier for a lot of people, which is why this DeepSeek V3 is so interesting.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, so it's open source, which means anybody can access it, anybody can tinker with it, and it's built using this a mixture of experts approach.
Mixture of experts. Sounds kind of like a fancy cocktail party for AI.
Well, think of it more like a team of specialists, right? Like imagine you have a brain surgeon, a rocket scientist, and a master chef all working together on a problem.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to get it.
Yeah. So each expert in this model is trained on a specific type of data, and then they collaborate to solve complex tasks.
So it's like having a whole team of AI geniuses under the hood.
That's a good way to put it.
That's pretty awesome. But you said this model's massive, right? Like how many parameters are we talking about here?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. 671 billion parameters, to be exact.
671 billion.
That's like all the connections in a brain.
Okay, that is a lot of connections. But here's the thing that I don't get. How do they even train something that massive without spending a fortune?
Right. Well, that's the really impressive part. They trained DeepSeek V3 for a mere $5.576 million.
Wait, hold on. Did you say million with an M?
Million with an M.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Some of their competitors cost like 10 times that.
I know. It's crazy.
How is that even possible? Did they find some like magic shortcut or something?
Not magic, but it's pretty close. DeepSeek V3 is actually the first model of its size to use what they're calling an FP8 mixed precision training framework.
FP8.
Yeah, it's a bit technical, but basically they're streamlining the math that the AI uses.
Okay, streamline how?
So they're doing most of the operations with FP8, which is faster but less precise. But then they strategically keep some parts in higher precision, like BF16 or FP32, just for accuracy.
So they're basically teaching DeepSeek V3 to do math with shortcuts.
You got it.
So it's like super fast, but still gets the right answer.
Exactly. And that's how they're saving so much money on training.
Wow, that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, but how do they make sure it doesn't like mess things up by using these shortcuts?
Well, they have some other really clever tricks up their sleeve.
Okay, like what?
So one of them is called fine-grained quantization.
Fine-grained quantization.
Yeah, so think of it like a chef, adjusting the heat on different parts of the stovetop to cook each ingredient perfectly.
Oh, okay, I see.
So it lets DeepSeek V3 use computing power only where it's really needed.
Gotcha. So they're not wasting any resources.
Exactly, and it's saving them a ton of money on training.
Okay, so fine-grained quantization.
Got it. What about this dual pipe thing I saw in the report?
Yes, dual pipe. So that's their system for overlapping computation and communication.
Overlapping computation and communication.
Okay.
Yeah, so imagine you're cooking a meal right, and you can prep ingredients while something else is simmering on the stove.
Multitasking in the kitchen.
Exactly. That's essentially what DeepSeek V3 is doing, multitasking like a pro to maximize efficiency.
Wow, so they're making sure that no time is wasted.
Pretty much, and I think that's a big part of how they managed to train it so quickly.
That makes sense. But, you mentioned earlier that DeepSeek V3 is kind of built on the work of its predecessors. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
You're right. DeepSeek V3 comes from a pretty impressive family tree.
It does.
It builds upon the successes of DeepSeek V2 and DeepSeek Coder V2.
Okay.
And they've learned a lot from those earlier models and incorporated some really ingenious strategies into DeepSeek V3.
So it's like they're passing down family secrets for AI success.
I like that analogy.
So what kind of strategies are we talking about here? Give me some examples.
Well, one really interesting one is what they call the fill-in-the-middle approach.
Fill in the middle, what is that?
So imagine you're reading a book and somebody removes a few words from the middle of a sentence.
Okay, I've been there.
And you have to use the surrounding context to fill in those blanks, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
That's essentially what this model is doing during training.
Wait, so they're training the AI by making it solve word puzzles.
Pretty much.
That sounds kind of fun.
It's a very efficient way for it to learn.
Yeah.
It forces the model to understand the relationships between words and concepts.
Okay.
And that leads to better overall performance.
That's really clever. They really pushing the boundaries here with this AI training. But, okay, so we talked about fill in the middle. What about that auxiliary loss-free load balancing strategy? That one sounds pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, but it's actually simpler than it sounds.
Okay, good.
Remember how we talked about the mixture of experts approach?
Yeah.
Well, this strategy just makes sure that the workload is evenly distributed amongst those experts.
So it's like having a really good project manager making sure that nobody on the team is getting overloaded.
Exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Makes sense. But, with all this focus on efficiency, does DeepSeek v3 actually deliver when it comes to performance?
That's the exciting part. Despite its low training cost, DeepSeek v3 is achieving some remarkable results.
Really?
It's actually going head-to-head with the big leagues. We're talking GPT-4o and Claude 3.5.
You're kidding. So this, scrappy underdog is actually competing with the industry giants.
It's a tight race.
This is getting really interesting.
Yeah, and in some areas, it's even outperforming them, especially when it comes to, really technical tasks.
Oh, wow. So how is it doing that?
Well, one of the key things is they use this strategy called multi-token prediction, or MTP for short.
MTP. Okay.
And so instead of just trying to predict the next word in a sentence, like a lot of these models do,
Right.
DeepSeek v3 tries to predict multiple words ahead.
So it's like reading ahead in the story before we even get there.
Exactly. It's like it's got this extra layer of anticipation.
Makes you wonder if it knows the ending already.
Well, maybe not the ending, but it definitely gives it a significant edge in terms of performance.
So it's thinking ahead, basically.
Yeah, and, this thinking ahead approach not only improves performance now, but it could even lead to, faster AI generation in the future.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's got brains and efficiency, but how does it actually measure up against the giants? You mentioned GPT-4o and Claude 3.5. Those are some seriously powerful AIs.
They are, and DeepSeek v3 is right up there with them.
Really?
Yeah, it consistently outperforms other open source models, and it's neck and neck with the GPT-4o and Claude 3.5, even on those really tricky tasks, like understanding huge chunks of text and having natural conversations.
Wow, so it can hold its own against the best of the best.
Absolutely, it can.
But can we get specific here? What kind of tests are we talking about?
Sure, so they put it through the ringer with tests like human eval, which basically checks how well it can write working code. It aced it, no problem.
Okay, so it can code. What else?
They also use DROP-P, which is a super hard reading comprehension test.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Where it has to understand and reason about these long, complex documents.
Okay, yeah.
DeepSeek v3 passed with flying colors.
So it can write code and read like a college professor?
Basically, and there's more. They even tested it with ArenaHard, which throws all sorts of challenges at it, coding, debugging, creative writing prompts, you name it.
Wow.
And DeepSeek v3 handled it all like a champ.
That's really impressive. I mean, this is pretty mind-blowing stuff. So what does all this mean for the future of AI? I mean, this sounds like a real game changer.
It is. It's shaking things up, for sure. Think about it. We now have this open source model that's incredibly powerful, but also relatively cheap to train and deploy.
And anyone can use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So researchers, small businesses, even individual developers can get their hands on this cutting-edge AI.
Exactly. That's the beauty of open source. It democratizes access to powerful technology.
So it's like giving everyone a supercomputer in their pocket.
That's a good way to put it.
So what are some of the potential real-world applications of this? I mean, how could DeepSeek v3 actually be used?
Well, the possibilities are pretty much endless for businesses. You can imagine being able to automate complex tasks, generate code, analyze massive amounts of data, all in a fraction of the time and cost.
Yeah, that would be a huge advantage.
Right, and for everyday users like you and me.
Yeah.
Imagine having a personal AI assistant that can help you write better emails, craft compelling presentations, or even learn new skills.
It's like having a super smart sidekick.
Exactly.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty amazing. But are there any downsides? I mean, is it all sunshine and roses with DeepSeek v3?
Well, no technology is perfect, of course.
Sure.
And one of the current limitations is that it still requires substantial computing power to deploy.
That's true. Not everyone has access to a server farm.
Right. But wouldn't that change as technology advances? I mean, computers are getting more powerful and cheaper all the time.
That's a good point. The challenges of today are often the solutions of tomorrow. Okay, so that makes sense. But the big question everyone's asking is DeepSeek v3 the future of AI? Is this the model that will finally unlock the full potential of artificial intelligence?
It's definitely a significant step in that direction. The combination of its performance, its efficiency, and its open source nature makes it a force to be reckoned with.
It's kind of mind-boggling to think about what the future holds. But, I have to ask, is there anything in the report about what the developers are planning next? What's on the horizon for DeepSeek v3?
Well, they're definitely not resting on their laurels, that's for sure. The report actually outlines some pretty exciting areas for future research and development.
Ooh, spill the tea. What are they cooking up next?
Okay, so one thing they're really focused on is making the training process even more efficient.
Even more efficient. I mean, they're already using that FP8 precision thing, which is pretty cutting edge as is.
Yeah, but they think they can push it even further, maybe even use lower precision formats in the future.
Wait, lower precision? Wouldn't that make the AI less accurate, though?
That's the challenge, right? Finding that sweet spot between speed and accuracy.
Right.
But if they can crack it, it means even lower costs and faster development cycles, which could really accelerate AI innovation.
So it's like a race to make AI training as efficient as possible.
It is in a lot of ways.
I guess that makes sense, especially with these massive models. And anything else they're working on?
Yeah, they're also exploring new ways to architect those mixture of experts models.
Yeah.
DeepSeek v3's setup is already pretty sophisticated.
It is.
But they think there might be even better ways to organize and utilize those AI experts, kind of like finding the optimal team structure for a company.
So they're constantly tweaking the recipe, trying to find that perfect blend of AI ingredients.
You got it.
That's fascinating. Okay, so more efficient training, new ways to structure the model, anything else?
One more thing, they're also really interested in refining that knowledge distillation process.
Yeah.
Remember how DeepSeek v3 learned from its super smart tutor DeepSeek R1? Well, they're looking for ways to distill even more knowledge and reasoning ability into their models.
Almost like they're training the ultimate AI apprentice.
Exactly.
It's like they're trying to create a lineage of super intelligent AIs, each one smarter than the last. That's both exciting and a little bit scary, to be honest.
It's true, there are always ethical considerations with powerful technology, but ultimately it's up to us as humans to guide the development of AI and ensure it's used for good.
You're right. We have a responsibility to steer this technology in the right direction.
Yeah.
But speaking of the future, the big question everyone's asking is, will we ever achieve artificial general intelligence, that sci-fi dream of an AI that can truly think like a human?
That's the holy grail, isn't it?
It is.
While DeepSeek v3 is a remarkable achievement, it's still a specialized tool. True AGI remains a long-term goal, but models like DeepSeek v3 are paving the way, showing us what's possible.
So it's not just about building bigger and better models. It's about understanding the very nature of intelligence itself.
Exactly, and that's what makes this field so captivating. It's a journey of discovery, not just of technology, but of ourselves. We're using AI to explore the limits of what's possible, both for machines and for humanity.
Wow. When you put it that way, it's pretty profound. This deep dive into DeepSeek v3 has been mind-blowing. We've learned about its groundbreaking capabilities, its potential to revolutionize industries, and the exciting, sometimes daunting possibilities it unlocks.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. It's clear that AI is no longer a futuristic fantasy. It's here, it's now, and it's rapidly changing the world.
Absolutely. DeepSeek v3 is a testament to human ingenuity and our relentless pursuit of knowledge. And as we venture further into the realm of AI, it's crucial to do so responsibly, ethically, and with a shared vision for a better future to our listeners. If you're eager to delve deeper into the technical intricacies of DeepSeek v3, we highly recommend checking out the full report. It's a fascinating read.
And remember, the future of AI is in our hands. Let's shape it wisely.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking the big questions.